Yeah, thank you very much, Mark, first of all, for having a chat with us and talking about where Wairarapa are at heading into the coming summer. And obviously, last season, kind of, I guess, mixed kind of summer for you guys where beat Manawatu on the first innings, had a couple of ding dong battles with Whanganui and Horowhenua Kapiti to get the three first innings wins. But then on the other side, obviously, heavy losses to both Taranaki and Hawke's Bay. Chapel Cup did well, made the final, and then we're a long way off the pace in that final again against Hawke's Bay and Logan Dool in particular that day. So if you were looking back on that season, how would you reflect on it? Where would you kind of say the team sat by the end of the summer?
Yeah, I suppose, Devin, if you're rating us out of 10, I'd say it'd be a 7 out of 10 year, given previous seasons. The team had been competitive, but not very consistent. So my first year in charge, the goal was to, we aimed high at the start, of course. I was a believer in aiming high, trying to create a culture where because some of them had sort of fallen out of love with cricket a bit. But, by the end of it, the team culture was good. But if you look at the results, the first 2 days up at the Naki, we had them in trouble. We were sort of 230 for 5. Seth Rance was in on about 70, and then we're all out for 237. So we had that collapse, and we bowled really well in that first innings. But again, I think it was probably just some of the inexperience in the side in day 2. We just let them off the hook, and Mowbridge got a big ton, and we dropped about 5 catches. So if you don't take your chances, that game really cost us. At the end of the day, we had a slight chance going in against Hawke's Bay in the last game, but yeah, that first game really killed us. With regards to getting a challenge, I feel.
And then, if you look towards the summer coming up, how do you see this side kind of measuring up, or what are your ambitions for the team this year?
Yeah, mate, I just think to build on from last season, we've lost a couple of our bowlers. Ethan Child's just had shoulder surgery. He did his labrum early in the season. He managed to battle his way through the season, but yeah, he'll be out. He's a pace bowler. He'll be out for at least the first half. And George Deans was another medium pacer who's just going under the knife this week. So we could be lacking a little bit of depth there in the seam bowling attack. Working at the moment to see what sort of options there could possibly be from possibly outside the area. Players that may want to come in who might be fringe Hawke's Bay players who can't crack Hawke's Bay, or from other areas that we could possibly attract. And CD Cricket have been really good in that space for us with regards to communication and to see who we could possibly bring in to the squad, which we're working on at the moment.
And I guess one of the challenges there is when you are bringing players in from out of the region, you want to make sure they are committed, obviously, to that Wairarapa cause, that they are dedicated to the team environment rather than being players that kind of float in and out and perhaps aren't as committed to the team cause as you want.
Absolutely. We had a cracker of a guy last season, Taylor Bettelheim, who came down from ND, moved to Napier, and we hooked onto that through CD fairly quickly. And Skin, as we call him, he loved his time down here. He's a great guy. He's playing in the Netherlands at the moment, but he's coming back. So yeah, he fitted the bill perfectly. He brought into the culture, and yeah, he's a superhuman being, Skin. So yeah, all going well. He'll be back for another season. So that worked really well, albeit he wasn't living here. But he's training with the Stags every week, and he's in that Stags environment, and he added a lot to our team, albeit he probably didn't get the runs he wanted, but just having his presence around the side was hugely useful for us.
And that was going to be one of my questions, was around main weaknesses, or where you're looking to strengthen. You've kind of answered that by saying it is that same department where you think you need to find ways to improve.
Yeah, traditionally that's probably been one of our strengths, and Seth Rance being back in the fold, having a pro there on the side, former black cap, bit of a Stags legend, Rancey. So having him there, and his shoulder has been pretty good through winter. So he'll probably bowl more overs this season for us. We've still got some useful medium paces. We're probably just missing one at the moment, and hopefully we can fill that gap coming through to this season.
And it's a bit of a big question, but what do you think you need to do in order to convert, where you were last season of kind of mid-table in the Furlong Cup into being able to earn a challenge this year?
Yeah, 3 out of 5 first innings wins. Didn't get that elusive outright. So I think it's more around having the ability to bowl teams out twice in 2 days would be one of the keys. The batting was pretty consistent. The guys really did put a prize on their wicket, which was pleasing to see. As you know, Hawke Cup cricket, that's what it's about. Some of the sides we faced were probably a little bit reckless in their approach with the bat, and we took advantage of that, just being consistent with our bowling. I think if we can keep batting like we're doing and batting time, and then working on ways that we can, possibly look at some weaknesses or try and capture those 20 wickets. And I think that comes down to a lot of strategy and concentration and staying in the fight and taking your chances. If you don't take your chances, take your catches. That's a real big key. So the fielding effort needs to improve, I think.
And do you think you think you're in a stronger or a weaker position coming into this season than you have been, last year or in the last couple?
I think from a mental perspective, the mentality will be stronger. The team's got confidence now. Made the Chapel Cup final, albeit got blasted away in the second innings here, but we still put 280 on the board against Hawke's Bay, which gave the team some confidence. Just old Dooley's son just went out and whacked it. It was a phenomenal innings from him, but that's given the team confidence, and they have the self-belief now to, even work harder on their games because the talent's there and the camaraderie's there and the spirit's there. So hopefully we can build on that and keep creating a winning environment, which perhaps was possibly lacking in some previous seasons.
And when we're talking about what you have to do to earn a challenge, how do you then, if you do get into that position, how do you kind of match a team like Hawke's Bay, where, as you're saying, they've been, pretty tough to beat, have a lot of depth and a lot of very good players, and a lot of confidence in the form that they've got at the moment. So how do you go toe to toe with a team like that?
Well, I think just looking at them, the way they prepare, their professionalism, the setup, the depth of players in their wider squad, you're always going to be up against it talent wise. So you'll need to strike them, I feel, on a bad weekend, or not a bad weekend, but a weekend where perhaps they're not quite at the top of their game. Whereas you'll have to be 100% ready to go on your game in every facet of cricket. So it'll be a combination of that, and they're patient when they want to be. They take the attack to you when they have to, but they're very, very professional in their setup. So I think a bit of luck will have to come into it, but also that self-belief that you can actually go out there and take them on. Hawke's Bay do have this aura about them, not in a cocky way. They are superbly led by Angus Shaw, and he's a down-to-earth rural bloke from the heartland. I think he's a great choice as skipper for them. They know they're good, but they don't rub it in. But we're going to have to be like 100% on our game, and given the depth of their players and their talent, hopefully they'll be off just a cog, and we just have to take advantage of every chance we get.
And then if you had to pick out kind of 2 or 3 key players who need to perform for you guys this year in order for the team to be successful, who would you kind of throw out there?
Well, as long as Taylor Bettelheim's back, I think he will be. We're looking for a big season from Skin. He scored mountains of runs for CDA. Last season, he got a couple of big tons against Wellington and ND, I think. So once he's in, he can go really big. And he'll be opening the batting with Robbie Anderson, who's our captain, who's a left-hander. So Chook's turned into a super consistent top order batsman now. So I'll be looking for Chook to have another solid season at the top there. And we've got a guy called Jake Jonas, who bats 3, who also made CDA this season. He's a young cricketer. He's still down at university down the South Island, but he's a final round talent. So be looking to Jake, probably that top 3, to get amongst the runs. And obviously from a bowling perspective, we've got Seth there, and hopefully his body holds up, so he can get some decent spells in during a 2-day. Hopefully we can get 20 to 25 overs out of him, which would be amazing for the side, because he's, as I say, he's a pro, super consistent, hoops around corners. So probably those 4 players I'll be looking to, and with Quinn Childs with his left arm spin, that gives us the variation that we've got there as well. So he'd be another player to really have a big season for us moving forward.
And then, looking a little bit more nitty gritty, how does the kind of pre-season preparation work for you guys? When do you kind of kick into that pre-season? When does preparation start, and what are the facilities and trainings like that you've got available?
Yeah, last season we did some strength and conditioning in July. Got the squad together, or whoever's interested to turn up and just do something a little bit different. This coming season, we'll probably mix that up a bit. Maybe work on some other forms of exercise, strengthening the core muscles. maybe a bit of yoga, maybe a bit of something a bit different to get them together in winter. And then moving forward, we've got a camp in the Hawke's Bay that's in mid-September. But we'll start training prior to that, but that'll be our real team bonding, team culture, a weekend away, set some themes for the season, which I'm pretty big on. And we took 18 up there last season to the facility up there, which was amazing. And yeah, that really helped us. So we're doing that again. That's booked in. But yeah, stuff that is underway right now is with regards just getting them together again and doing something a bit different than just straight out cricket stuff. And then we'll look to commence some trainings. Probably come August, I imagine we'll hook into a bit of batting and bowling and fielding. So that's the plan.
And then for you, what's your kind of approach to coaching, or your coaching philosophy? How would you kind of define yourself in that space?
Probably I'm a big culture coach, so nailing there's always a theme around. I do set themes. I set a theme last year, probably mix it up a bit this season, but yeah, once you nail the culture and the guys buy into it, we've got rules around, what we do during the week, what we do on a Friday, Saturday night, Sunday. We've got rules around player behaviour and things like that. So the guys were bought into that. And I suppose previously, when I used to play the old Saturday night in Napier or New Plymouth, it was a bit loose. So, the boys from Marston away in a bigger city, it was quite hard to control some of the players. But these guys are different killer fish. They stick together, and it's that unity that you need. No one's moping off in twos and threes. We stay together as a group. So that unity is important. I feel they need to pull something on. They need to feel something when they put the baggie on. It's not just walking out there playing a game of cricket. They've got to feel that pride for their region. So I'm big on that. Big hearts, never giving up till that final ball's bowled at 6:45 on a Sunday night. And just having some clarity around their roles and what I expect of them, just making it pretty simple for them. As you know, cricket's a complicated game and can get in your head a lot. So that's what those themes are built around, but it's really that culture and ensuring that they are having fun, enjoying their cricket, enjoying each other's company, and hopefully teach them a little bit about their own game along the way, but more on the technical side as well, with some things that you pick up from time to time. But I don't tend to overcoach them in that area. It's more around getting that culture right and making sure they're proud to play for the bush.
And obviously, you're someone that comes in with a really strong background from another sport as well, with your rugby background, both as a player and as a rugby coach. So, how much do you think of your kind of rugby experience comes through while you're, in the cricket environment coaching this side?
Yeah, certainly it's helped because rugby as a coach, it's at senior level. That's where I first dipped my toes into the water, apart from, college coaching out at Rathkiel. But I'm still dipping my toes in there. I've got the Wairarapa first 15 this season, helping out there. So rugby taught me around being organised, especially with trainings and having your week planned out for your team. That taught me a hell of a lot. There's similarities between both sports from that side of things. Two completely different games, of course, but I do find a real synergy from what I learned from rugby. And what it takes to create a winning environment, an environment that people are enjoying themselves, which then transforms into performance. So, yeah, there are similarities here. So rugby coaching has definitely helped me, become more confident in my own abilities as well, and just implement that into a different sport. It's really helped me.
And then looking at a couple of names within your playing group, Seth Rance has already come up a couple of times while we've been speaking, but obviously retired now from Central Districts. How much is he going to be available for you guys, and how long do you think that that's going to be the case?
He'll be available full time this season, Seth. He's part of a football team we play during winter, and yeah, no, he's keen as mustard. He's got a busy life with Susan and the three kids down there in Greytown. He's head of the fire brigade down there. He's also works full time, and a real community man. But Seth will be involved from the word go. He's keen as mustard to turn out for Wairarapa again, and I expect him moving forward. Definitely this season, he's probably got as many seasons as he wants to play cricket in him. He does have a goal of playing cricket with Lockie, his oldest boy, who absolutely loves cricket. So I think his children will push him as far as he could possibly go physically. and he'll hang in there for as long as he can.
And then talking about playing with sons, you've got two of your sons in the team. One of them you've just mentioned, obviously going down with injury. But how have you found that experience of coaching your two sons in a rep side or selecting your two sons in a rep side? How much of a challenge is it balancing the family relationship with the coach and player relationship?
Yeah, great question, that Devin. Luckily for me, they'd been in the side for many years since they were at Rathkill. So it's not as if I had to select them. They're already in there. They're on the CD age group setups and CDA. So that's been a positive for me. It has its moments. When you're coaching your children, often either they're getting confused with I'm dad, but I try and tell them I'm not dad at cricket. I'm your coach. So it's probably just a little bit of a grey area. It's been a bit of a grey area for them, not so much for me. But it's just trying to get that message across to them that you are just another player on the side, and I'm your coach. So it's caused a little bit of friction at times, but in general, they've got really good attitudes towards their teammates in their region and the game. So we have bugger all issues there, but there's been a few little curly moments with a few comments. Let me put it that way.
A couple of special blow-ups from Coach Dad then.
I only got stuck into them once during the season, but yeah, it's just getting that balance right, I think, with your kids. And but lucky for me, they've been in that team for a number of years, so I haven't really had to have any issues around selection. They're sort of in their place.
And then this is a big question that's kind of playing out everywhere around the country at the moment. But for the smaller district associations, pretty much everywhere you're getting squeezed by the fact that your larger districts or your metro areas are the places that have obviously selectors and coaches that you can access that have facilities that are higher quality than smaller DAs can access, where you can see there's a lot of club players from around the Central Districts area that are now playing club cricket in Napier while still being eligible for their home DA. And for you guys, that's kind of on a two-sided thing where you've got Hawke's Bay on one side that has Central Districts coaches and facilities and high quality club cricket for players to chase, and then on the other side you've got Wellington where again access to facilities and coaches, but then when they go there they're out of your system entirely. So how much of a challenge is it, or how much of an impact have you seen having those two kind of squeezes on either side of you?
Another good question, Devin. I think it's getting a lot better for us. Like, I suppose if you go back a decade, or perhaps pre-Seth Rance, for example, there weren't a lot of opportunities for players here to push for higher honours. But I think Seth's made a bit of a difference, making the Black Caps from Greytown, which is, that's a phenomenal achievement. He was told he had to move away, but he refused to, and still made it. But I tip my hat to Central Districts Cricket, the likes of Dave Mearing and the setup there. Our players now do get looked at. It's simply up to them. If they perform at Hawke Cup level, they'll get a chance. We had 3 in CDA this season. So I do take my hat off to CD now that they do look around all of our provinces, even the smaller ones. They're establishing talent and they're giving them opportunities. We've got young Samuel Payne still at Wairarapa College. He made CDA as well this year. So I think if you compare it now to what it was going back, I think being and playing in the Wairarapa has more advantages now than it used to. And I think you got to give Seth some credit for that, but also the attitude of Central Districts Cricket to push their pathways people out and push their coaching out. If we ever need a hand, they're only a phone call away. So hopefully, if you're struggling to make the Hawke's Bay team, come and make yourself available for the Bush. You might be considered.
And kind of wrapping up, it has now been quite a few years since your last challenge, which we talked about just before we went on record. But how much would it mean to you for this group to be able to earn a challenge and to be back on that stage again?
Well, it'll mean everything to me and the group. That's obviously our goal, is to win the Furlong Cup, or if Hawke's Bay win the Furlong Cup, come second in the Furlong Cup because you get a challenge. So, which is an advantage for everyone being a CD. Keep holding at the Bay, But it'll be a massive moment. I mean, they don't come along very often for a region like Wairarapa, 2012. Then prior to that, it was, I think, 25 years before then. They're not dime a dozen, and you don't have to have the perfect season, but you got to be 9 out of 10. You got to have a 9 out of 10 season really to get a challenge, and that's the challenge for the players, is to keep their levels consistently high throughout all those two days, those 6 sessions that they play. If they button off for a session, you probably lose the match. So it's really that top 2 inches, getting that focus right, and those concentration levels right for the full 2 days, the full 6 sessions, and that area of mental strength I'll be honing in on this season, along with just keeping the culture as it is, and hopefully enhancing on a few more themes.
Perfect. Well, great to hear about how things are going in the bush, and thanks for your time. And hopefully, it all goes well in the season ahead.
Yeah, cheers, Devon. Thanks for your time. Cheers.